Hello, and welcome everyone. Welcome to VINO Friday with Lily Kolosoa, of course. So thank you so much for joining. Hey, Remus, you're here. Welcome. VINO today, you guys. Ta-da! So today is rosé, a chilled rosé. So definitely VINO Friday today, Remus. And the subject that I need to today to talk about is definitely need some vino. So great to have everyone who is joining me here. So it is actually a French rosé. I'm not sure what the name of it, but I do like to drink French for some reason. French don't put the chemicals that give me so much issues. Actually, drinking wine, I have to be very careful because I do have quite a few of allergies. So anyway, this is pretty good. And French wines are mostly always okay. So here's to all of you who's joining me for this Vino Friday today on July 19th, 2024. So it's going to be an interesting subject today. I want to talk about a really more about our frequency in who we are in the bodies. I'm not so it's going to be kind of in a way continuation of what kind of so we can cultivate our power within the body so we can learn about what access to what kind of energy we have within our energy within our seven layers of our energy body. So this is kind of what I wanted to do today, make it a little bit more casual for us today and just talk about our basically aura, our energetic bodies. Okay, and so here's cheers to all of you. Hey, Bruno, cheers, cheers, Bruno, to you all, you guys, cheers. Very happy to have you all here. So, rosé today, Bruno. Mm, it is definitely refreshing. Hello, Kay. Good to see you here. All right, you guys. All right. Of course, today is going to be no different. So I'm going to be talking from my perspective and from the perspective of direct disclosure. Good 10 years ago or so, maybe I started about 10 years ago talking about this sort of period where we're going to come and humanity will be going through this quickening period, and as I used to call it. And because we're leaping in consciousness, and because of the smallest quanta that could be measured here in this reality is the quantum field. So the quanta is the smallest measurement of energy. And that's what actually word quanta stands for in energy. And so, and then I want to talk about energetic field. Ooh, hold on. I got to grab my notes. Da-da-da-da. Notes, 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 notes. All right. Not a lot of notes today. Just a little CIA experiment note. See on my right type, I always put what the note about. So my are CIA experiments, and then the book. See. All right. So this is actually, I don't know, the way they say it, it's called Dicenian. Dicenian. Walter John Kilner, or the human atmosphere, or the aura made visible by the aid of chemical screens. So Dicenian is actually 404 code for a chemical thing, and when it's been wiped off of everything, so when you do actually Google it, it will say error. but it is actually an element, Dicenian. Dicenian, when you put it in the glasses, a little bit of Dicenian, and you guys can research this book was written in 1911. Oh, this light in here. So anyway, um, this blue substance put in between two lenses and then look through, you can see all 7 layers of human aura because it gives you access to multidimensional sort of energy field of everything, including the plants and everything. So that, of course, been all taken away, wiped out, and we don't even know what that is, but this is how it spells. And you guys can do research. There is some information online, like I mentioned last time. We are going through, we're going through a media purge as well. And the way it happens through direct disclosure, you guys, is that everyone whose experience will be sort of uh, communicating their experience to where the evidence are undeniable about certain things. So this is like 10 years ago when I started talking about this cleanup time and the cleanup crew of Hayokas that will come in and we have to rearrange this reality in order to burn the things that no longer serve us in order to leap into this quantum age where we're going to understand who we are on an energetic level and how the reality operates. So that multidimensional existence that many of the sort of the negative side of this reality, many were talking about, and this is, of that. They were talking about that we're gonna ascend by paying, paying the money. Somehow we're gonna ascend into understanding what multidimensional existence is. But in reality, it is us accessing those energies within us because those energies belong to us. Just because we don't see them doesn't mean that those exist. And so this is why I say when you are Hayoka, and this is what I call the seven heavenly frequency in those races of genetic cosmogenetic races of 7 levels that hold the frequency of the organic original DNA for this planet for a human blueprint. And I'm talking about, of course, the quantum physics in here for let's just say that word. But we're talking about etheric fields as well. So this is what the etheric fields are. So our aura around us, and just like he was able to develop these glasses to where you put them on and you will see on a human being, there is 7 different colors. But the thing is, why they took it away, because when you look in the sky, you can see everything in the sky. So it gives you a perspective of ultra red. So this is why it was so dangerous. It wasn't so dangerous because it was showing you all 7 levels of human energy. It was also, you can see the energy kind of operating in a way. Okay. And this is what I talk, that Hayokas, in a way, are those who are gifted. Those are your crystal children, your indigo children. Those are awakened human beings who are awakened that heart field. And that takes through, work and shadow work in this reality. Like I like to say, you incarnated here on behalf of your ancestors to close the cycle. Okay. So so this is why I kind of want to talk about that those kind of things are already out there. So direct disclosure, those that experience different things, right, in this reality, and those that are here on behalf of ancestors, right, then we have this sort of capacity, then we have these gifts to sort of in our own way to develop the gifts of this Hayoka gifts, as I call them, which are specifically for this period of time. For what? In order to um, age humanity into this leap in consciousness, which we can understand how we actually do bring heaven on earth. And it's all has to do with each and every one of us individually having the capacity to cultivate that energy that is available to us in order to catapult our consciousness into that sort of perspective of the future. Okay, so we don't stand in the victimhood. Okay, because and this is the reason, like, yes, and the most dangerous thing is for people that would be able to see how the human being has all this energy available to them. um, uh, then it just like it made religion impossible. So the religion was also the one that led sort of how to say, that blocked this. So right now, this is why you get 404 code is for arrow, but it's actually a chemical code for this thing. Okay. So you guys know quantum physics is my hobby. Quantum physics is my hobby. So, but I told you guys, I was telling you guys, I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. And so this is the why I was saying even 9 years ago. And this is like, again, Native Americans talk about 9-year cycle. So that's why I'm going through this cycle. We're also closing a 49-year cycle. We're also closing a 70-year-old cycle. It's crazy. We're closing so many cycles in such a short period of time. And this is here comes your um, Mayan calendar, or Aztec, actually, I have to say, Aztec calendar to this. Mayan calendar now, it was actually um, to the 3D time, and a Mayan calendar just has 64 more invisible sort of or energetic fields that you can, but Aztec has a little bit more present in there encoded as the calendar than Mayan calendar. That's the only difference. Okay, they're all kind of talk about the same thing, and this is again uh, catapulting. And this is just like a while back I was talking about the bees and how the collective consciousness of bee colony decides everything what happens in the colony. And this is why um, we're also, the enemy also works and operates to where it can only manipulate um, that which is real, right? So, like the fallen angels can only become, instead of the 7 heavenly frequency, you guys all know there is 7 princes of hell. Lucifer is just one of them. Yaldabaoth is just another one, right? Those are all entities that represent that collective sort of frequency, but because it's a copy, it seems like it's important, but because when it's in negative cycle, so it's on the bottom of the wheel, right? And in some of the tarot decks, you guys, the bottom of the wheel is going to be, there's going to be a demon on there. So that's your hell. And then hell and heaven. So imagine when you are a fallen angel, you cannot go back to hell. You are bound to hell. You bound to 3D, meaning you can only attach to and experience this reality via somebody else's vehicle, most likely human. And this is where it goes from for um, bloodlines, right? So most of you guys know that it's not a secret anymore that most of this bloodlines, they actually marry into each other so they can keep that bloodline going. But most importantly is that they can keep those demonic entities um, incarnated through the family line, so through the bloodline, right? So, you guys, the CIA experiment that I want to talk about is the law of one channeling and the group of entities that call themselves Ra. Okay, this is so those of you who's been in alternative media since 2010, you will remember David Volkock was all about that before Blue Avians. He was all about Law One and channeling about Ra and all of that stuff. So those are all channelings of fallen angels. So now think of that, right? And because, and I'll get to it a little bit more to that, because I want to start with actually, with who we truly are. Okay. You're welcome, Lil K. You said thank you for all the info. Hopefully you guys are, this is just kind of, Friday, very simple stuff. I'm just going to talk about, I'm talking about living energy and who we are on that level. And the thing is that when we attain this sort of stand in our eternity, we lose the fear and we become fearless. And this is why I mentioned many times to the confused Christians, there's more than 365 times statements in Bible that talk about do not fear. One or more statements or what of those uh, scriptures thing that talk about do not fear. That's commands, right? So for those Christians that like to follow that, when they miss that and then they stand in fear, they'll be left behind because they didn't listen to God. They didn't read the book. They didn't read the book. Just like they didn't read the book that in order to attune to those heavenly frequency, you have to have the faith of a child. What did religion do? I mentioned last time. Inflict trauma on a child. And that, like Ramus, you mentioned in the comments last time, they abuse the child. Then that abused child grows up and goes to church, and that the same priest that told the child that he was sinful and all of that stuff tells them, the growing up then child that was abused by the priest, that in order to get in heaven you have to become like a child. So abuse all around. That's all you get in church. And so anyway, so here's to so the direct disclosure is very important because it's pretty much, it's kind of like it's blowing the whole thing out of the like out of its existence. So when you take all of that, and if you take fear, if you take fear out of it, the religion loses its power. So that's why I keep saying that most religious denominations and all the religions, Abrahamic religions and all of this stuff, it's all antichrist. So yes, and so when the fallen has fallen, and it talks in Teresa, aloha Teresa. Teresa, you said they can only copy, not create. And this is what happens but they do know how to wield that negative power and how to affect humanity, um, because they're still, in a way, held that template. And so that's why entities like Yaldabaoth, like Lucifer, like Azazel. So there's 7 different ones for 7 different levels that are the 7 princes of hell, right? So now those are in, again, that just like any entities, just like the same way with this law one, right? There was a lady that was channeling a bunch of entities, right? And all of that stuff. And uh, they basically possessed her consciousness and spoke through her. Okay. And so all of those teachings, when you now with a sort of um, well, once we close the cycle, in order for us to understand what it was and to close it, we have to understand what it was. Like last time, the card came out that in this reality, what neutralizes it is you gaining the awareness of it. That's what actually deconstructs matrix. Is the more you're aware of it, the more you deconstruct it. Because that same presence of negative or the fallen angels, that's there's your, people will tell you, here's your Pentecostals babbling. Where is it coming from? It's possession. It's spirit possession of that field, of that energy. And it's because in this reality, we have positive and a negative because this is the reality. We have to be responsible and mature spiritual human beings in order to live a life here. We have choices to make, and they're very clear to us when you're a human being and you have heart field um, active and you operate on empathy, you will intuitively know right and wrong choices. So you flow through life just like a master being, even though you know there is full spectrum of both. Okay. So this is how we break out of matrix, is to recognize that it is our responsibility to clear this own field. And so the background of this lady that channel law one, right? And when you guys look at it back now, and just to sort of put it in a few sentences, it was all a plan of manipulating collective human consciousness into fear of exploring the self, basically. So this is what it was. And then the new age, this is what is kind of like, because the religion's dying and because the old system was dying. And like I was predicting in 2015, 2016, they're gonna sort of redo the whole thing to where it's like going to be renewed programming, because the technology is advancing, so the programming has to advance as well. Okay. So, and they literally, the raw collective, call themselves the raw collective, is identified as one collective personality. So there was many entities that would talk about many different things, and they would say what dimensions they know. And so this is why I kind of talk in fallen angels, because this is, many of us are familiar with that terminology. But this is literally about knowing your own energies that you operate on and what you identify with. You know, I say that many of the people in church, just like Christ said, they worship this um this seven princes of hell in a way, right? And they don't know it because their actions are telling us what they worship. And just like Christ went in there and kicked few tables, right? I'm going to do it in a sense with my words today. When the people go to these mega churches and they see that the pastor of that mega church is having $1 million home, having a Ferrari for a car, it's like, how Christian are you if you need to come and listen from this guy how to get in heaven, and you have a Bible at home that you never read for yourself to figure out that, because, and that's why you blind, because you go into the church because you blind. So I don't feel sorry for them, because the people like that, they blinded themselves, they live in illusion. So you have to make that choice to not run from negativity, not to escape it, like I said last time, but to be in it, but to have an awareness that you're not of it. And this is when I say, this is how you step on the path to eternity, because you belong to eternity, and this is the way home. The way home is through within, just like Christ said. So for those people that, go to those churches, and then what? They're gonna be surprised that everything's gonna fall to, and they're gonna be in destruction, right? So anyway, oh my God, already 25 minutes in. So, what Walter Kilner called this, the human atmosphere. It's the energetic body. Okay. So I was talking about the physical body last time. So this is kind of like a connecting little Vino Friday to the next subject, which I'm going to connect then to our spiritual sort of center, which is our Holy Trinity here in the physical form. It is right here that connects us to the higher mind. This is the Jacob ladder that goes from your bottom of the spine and then secretes all the way into thalamus, pituitary, and the pineal. Those are your, in the Bible, I think they talk about that, how God words, the word comes through. So this is your thoughts, the true, pure thoughts forms. All right. So, direct disclosure, I want to talk a little bit more about that many of these things, like we're gonna see that clearly, right? That was a fallen angel doing angels in like law one. And before that became sort of, they like to recycle that was like in 1981, right, that she channeled that. And then in early 2000s, this is what David Wilcock sort of started becoming popular with. It was all about the law one, and he was decoding law one. But this is your sort of, this is your, the network that works for the other side. Or let's just say those that are possessed by greed. Okay, they operate on that. And so, for those of you guys that you want to understand about bloodlines, watch the movie Kingsman. Very true what's going on in there. And then research connections, King Charles now, right? Speaking about 70 years cycle, Prince Charles was made King Charles in 23, and then Mama Elizabeth was made Queen 70 years earlier, okay, in 53, 1953. Okay, so 1953, she had her thing, and now 23, so 70 years, okay, cycle. Jubilee cycle, okay? You guys need to figure out what that means. So basically, it's all they all keep it in bloodline, including the Russian bloodline, including the Russian. That's all involved. And then, so King Charles, it is online actually, is the descendant of Dracula. King Charles right now lives in the Dracula um, castle. Google it. I'm not. You would think. You would think what I'm saying is just so crazy, but Google it. Google it. Last year was a jubilee year, yes, but that was, yeah, that was the last year of mm, has to do with Vatican too. It's the contract of the soul enslavement. So the Roman Empire is falling, finally fallen, finally fallen. Roman Empire, because it went underground and it manifested as totally different thing. And so, and now the whole thing is like a thread is just gonna go, it's gonna get all undone. So, and this is so the law of one was actually a CIA experiment, and then of course they milked that because that was because again, even though fallen angels, they will have access to all these arts. Remember, they're the ones who taught humanity witchcraft, black magic, blood magic. It's all fallen angels' teachings. So we have access to the same spectrum of angelic frequency. So that's why I say for those of us that see that the revealing of this such a that very negative spectrum is happening, we should rejoice in a way to where we know that we have access to just as much of the angelic sort of frequencies, and we can expand that and cultivate that in our lives and empower ourselves individually. Just like it says, you have to help yourself first in order to help others, right? So this is when we can step in, and this is why I said we're going to have a flood of direct disclosure, because there is, you can, in this time and day, like I mentioned last time, just as long as 1992, there was a documentary that was so revealing about CIA experiments and Nazi experiments in United States, to where Supreme Court has to get in and put us and restrict it, not to release it, and only released it into the just very few universities under a very big law. That will not be happening anymore because, again, bringing cycling back to what I said, we're going to see simultaneously a media exposure of all the covering up the media done. So like I mentioned last time, we're going to see first layer, we're going to see exposure is the justice system. So the justice system is exposing the political arena. And then political arena is using media and justice system. So media is where the CIA steps in, because media that we have up until now, the 2023, what we had is by contract, by the way, because of the Jubilee, we had media that was Mockingbird media. it was not free media. We didn't have free media. So, but now, since that is now going to be unfolding the other way around, we're going to learn in a lot shorter time than 70 years. And I say in next 7 years, we're going to learn about all the media has done using our money to cover up crimes, and in particular, crimes against children. And the crimes against children, because it has to do a lot with Mossad, because you guys remember Mossad belongs to a religion where abuse of children is normalized. Healing a child is normalized. It's in fact rewarded in that religion. Having sex with a child is rewarded in that religion. So this is why I said the third layer that's going to all unravel. Imagine when CIA is going to be ordered to unseal all the documents. All. Nothing could be sealed. Because when the military law steps in, everything gets